To Plaistow Board of Selectmen meeting for March 2nd, 2020. No, I guess she doesn't have it on yet. Hold on.
Not yet.
I thought she did, but I guess not.
I remember that meeting.
Pardon?
I remember that meeting.
I remember that meeting, too.
Maybe she doesn't realize it's not recording. I don't know.
Yeah, Megan, we're not live here. You've got an older meeting on the screen. All right, so we need to see us live before we start our meeting, okay? All right, thanks, bye. All right, she might not be on the right channel.
There's only one.
No, I think there's two. I don't know what she has downstairs.
Francine asked me to give it.
Okay. Did you give it to Jay? I'm waking up anyway.
No, but I will. I can give him all the current stuff.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Plaistow's Board of Selectmen meeting for March 2nd, 2020. Beth, may we have a roll call, please? I'll call this meeting to order, sorry, at 6:35.
Select Chair, Ms. Hart.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Kishka.
Here?
Selectman, Mr. Talion.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Blinn.
He is excused.
And note for the record, Town Manager, Mr. Pearson is here.
All right, thank you. Before we do our pledge, I'd like to take a moment of silence to recognize and remember Julian's uncle who recently passed away. And if you'd like to just say a little bit about that, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I just got off a plane, so I'm a little tired myself. And then Miss Hart called me up and says, we don't have a quorum if you don't get here in time, so I'm here. But his name was Jerry Bisletta. He was older. He actually was born in the city. Was a taxi driver, band member, married my aunt. And somehow ended up in California, but in the end, he spent his last years living in the mountains of Colorado. What was it, Storm Mountain? Literally, you drive there, it's an hour of cell phone, 0 bars. That's how far out it is. And you really appreciate, because I grew up in the Catskill Mountains and when I was young, and you realize how the country really is, and people are really nice, and they take care of each other. And the America we all, we dream of,
Yep.
where people took care of each other, right? Which is a good theme for today.
Yes, it is. And it's a
And,
very nice tribute. So,
And unfortunately, he was a second uncle that died this month.
yes, I know you've
But-
had a lot of deaths in your family.
That's what happens when you get older, so.
I know. Don't be looking at me when you say that. All right.
All right,
So,
thank you.
you are so welcome. So tonight we have a very special treat. We have Cub Scout Pack 118, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd all like to stand, and you can start. Whoever is going to lead us. All right, thank you, gentlemen and ladies. It was great. All right, so the first item on our agenda, we have minutes of February 24th, so may I have a motion on the floor to approve those minutes, please?
I make a motion that we approve the February 24th minutes for the Board of Selectmen meeting.
All righty, and may I have a second?
I'll second it.
All righty, and do you guys have any questions or anything else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the motion will carry 3-0-0. And I don't believe there's anybody here for public comment. So the next item that we have is our Cub Scout presentation. So would our spokespeople come on up and give us your presentation? And can you also let us know, give us your names. You could just talk on that microphone right there, both of you, and just tell us who you are for the cameras, and that would be great. Thank you, guys.
You guys would probably want to stay here so that the microphone picks you up. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sam Kincaid,
And I'm Cameron Stack.
and behind
Excellent.
us is our pack. We are from Troop 18. We're den chiefs helping out our den. and we're here to present to you our Cub Scout shed presentation because we are planning on building a shed somewhere in Plaistow because we need it to house all of our pack equipment such as the blue and gold crossover bridge and the Pinewood Derby track.
Excellent, okay, all right. Okay,
So, why do we need this shed? We need this shed to hold all of the PAX items, as Sam said, such as the blue and gold bridge, which helps Cub Scouts cross over to Boy Scouts, and the Pinewood Derby track. We can also hold Scouts' personal items, like tents and sleeping bags if they don't have room in their house.
Where will the shed be located? We suggest that the Cub Scout shed be at the park or Plaistow Athletic Recreation Complex for a few different reasons. It's a quiet area, far from houses, so when we are loading and unloading items, we don't cause a disruption. It is also locked. It is also behind a locked gate, so that'll help prevent theft. It'll be right off the road, so it's easy for trucks and cars to back in and load items. There are 2 potential places within the park that we find will work the best and are circled in blue on the map. Here's just a bigger version of that map so you can clearly see it.
Okay,
So
yeah.
the 2 places are kind of off the road, like I said, so it's easy for things to, so you could back stuff in. And it's also further away from like the playground and other stuff, so if there are people there, it's not a disruption for them either.
okay, and those were exactly the 2 locations that I checked out the other day for you guys, so that's good, I'm glad we're on the same page, okay.
But also, we would be flexible with anywhere in
Whatever,
Plaistow.
okay, great.
Yeah.
How big is it and what is it gonna be made of? The shed will be 12 by 16. This is to account for all the things that will be in it. The Pinewood Derby track and the blue and gold crossover bridge are some larger items that are needed inside. So that's why the amount of space needed is necessary. The base will be made of concrete and the walls will be made out of wood. The roof will be shingle roof like in the picture shown.
So the next few pages contain the exact shed specifications, courtesy of Eric Lee, a carpenter from the pack. He's also the Cub Master, so he helps out a lot within the pack and also within this shed design. So we're just gonna like walk it. We'll just flip through the pages and we'll just give you like a few seconds or a minute or so, so you can just look at it. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into like detail with this, but that's kind of how like it's gonna look like from the inside, I guess.
All right, I'll let you finish before I ask you some more questions.
This is what the outer 2 sides would look like.
And then this is the front and the rear. So we want to have for the front like a sort of garage door, so that we're not going to like put a car in, but like I said, we have big items that we just need to put in frontward, and we can't really turn it, so it's nice and easy for it to be there and big like that. And there's also doors in the rear, so people could walk in from that side if they wanted as well.
How will we light it up?
The shed will have 1 light bulb just in the middle of the building. We use solar panels to power it, and we know people that work with solar panels, and more specifically with Revision Energy, and they can help us retrieve and install these solar panels. This method is the cheapest way to power the shed, as it's cheaper than string and cord, and some other methods that we discussed with the den. Thank you guys for listening.
So is there any questions?
First of all, that was an outstanding presentation. I'm very impressed with you guys.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, do you have any questions?
That's a well thought out plan.
Yes. Julian, you have a couple questions? Go ahead.
Sorry, but I do.
No, I have a bunch too, so go ahead.
All right, okay. The last thing you said was the solar you were gonna use, and you didn't want, you're not gonna have any powered electric going to it?
No.
So how does the solar help you when when it gets dark early, and the solar panel doesn't have any power?
So we're thinking there will probably, we're not 100% certain about this. We didn't, like, this wasn't one of the key things that we went over, but I'm thinking that we're gonna have like a relatively like small battery that'll just like charge it for if we need to use it in the night, but, I don't really know if we're gonna be using it in the night, like, we might, but we're primarily gonna be using it in the day, because, also the pack is locked during the, night, so we'll have to go through that as well.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, you also had a rear door, a side door,
Yep.
and I know that park is pretty wet, and it'll just be all muddy and everything as you're working outside those. Are you gonna put any kind of a walkway or something to it, gravel, dirt, whatever, so that you're not like digging up and stepping in mud when you're going in and out of the shed?
That's a good thing we haven't thought of yet.
We'll put it into consideration. I think that's a really good idea because, as you said, it's really wet and can get muddy, especially since you're going around on the other end where there's a lot of grass and dirt.
And have you decided on which of those two locations you're going to work with yet?
Not exactly. We wanted to try to leave it more open for you guys because you probably might want to decide for yourselves.
My
like, what
thought
would work
is,
better for you.
gentlemen, yes, my thought is that this is the initial approval where we will move you forward, but we're
Yep.
going to ask you to come before the planning board so that you can make sure that your site elevations, and this is a really good exercise for you because this is how our government works, and it's really kind of a fun thing for you to learn, I think. Well, at least it's fun for me, I don't know. But anyway, so we're going to ask you to come before the planning board and specify some more of this stuff, and the planning board will give you a little bit more information and a little bit more feedback, and some of those pictures that you have are going to be perfect for them to do that. So as soon as our board makes their decision tonight, I will inform the planning board, and we'll try to get you in here. They meet the first and third Wednesday of the months, so obviously this week is too soon, but we're going to probably ask you to come back in the second Wednesday of the month and probably redo this presentation for the planning board, and then you're off and running. So are you all done with your questions? 'Cause I have a couple.
I have a suggestion
Sure,
I'll put
sure.
out there. Since, I don't know, you probably haven't looked into the cost of a battery backup system, which is actually rather expensive because I have one myself, so I have the experience. If you don't have a way to do it at a low cost, the location that is next to the other building, you have a very short distance to run a power line if you really had to. So that's just something to consider when you do your final
That
plans.
was something that we were thinking about, though we were thinking we'd have to probably string it underground, and that would become another project within itself, so.
And
Yeah.
then another thing is that during the winter months, we really don't bring those big items out, like the crossover bridge and the Pinewood Derby track. Those things usually are in spring, summer months.
And flashlights work.
Yes.
Yep, flashlights always work, right. And they're resourceful, they're scouts, they know what they need to do. Do you have any more comments or
No,
questions?
that's great, it's a really good plan.
All right. So my question to you is, when did you want to think about starting this project? Do you have any time frames in mind for this?
I think we're likely gonna try to finish up all of, like these slides and stuff and getting it approved for the summer and then maybe the fall, so that we can use it for this upcoming, cub year.
So are you talking about using it in 2021? Or are you trying, no, you're trying to get it finished by fall? Is that what the thing is? All right,
I
okay.
think so, yeah.
All righty, great. And also, have you thought about any type of security measures there? Because we're concerned that there may be, at some point in time, even though the place is locked up and we're really good around here, have you thought about any kind of security measures with regards to vandalism or locking things up and that type of thing?
The doors are probably gonna likely be locked as well, so that would provide extra security as well as the gates in the park.
Okay, and who's going to be responsible to have keys and/or maintain the building?
Probably either Mr. Stack or Mr. Lee.
Okay, there you go. All right, so that's another good thing, you delegate to other people, that's very good. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for you all? Well, then I would like to take a vote to, or can you put a motion on the floor
I put a
to?
motion to approve this pending the planning board's decisions.
Okay, and may I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so you have a unanimous approval to move forward ahead, and I'll talk to your scout leader and make arrangements for you guys to come back and talk to the planning board, okay? Thank you, you did an outstanding job on that, very, very good. We're really proud of you guys, thank you so much. All right, yay.
Brian, can we get a picture?
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Maybe they could stand over at the wall there and get the picture in the background of the presentation picture.
Yeah,
Well, then if we're gonna do
Scouts, you want to get a
that,
picture with them?
I'm gonna do the first slide.
You were the silent partners, but you guys helped make this presentation before break, right?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You bet, you bet, you bet. I know, they're awesome little kids.
Thank you. Yeah. Usually needs a copy.
Mrs. Gosler, you'll send that to me.
I'm sorry, what? Yeah. All right, yep, yep. Anybody else want to take pictures? Come on, yep.
Didn't you say that it was less than 20%? It was gonna be 10%? Okay. We'll go with a higher one just in case,
I
right?
hate to have my picture
But you can
taken.
also tell them that it may end up being less, but it won't be more.
No, definitely will not be
Right,
more.
right, yeah.
So, here's this.
All right, excellent, guys.
Everybody else is signed but us?
Sign it.
Okay,
If you sign it, I'll get that back and get it back to him.
okay, thank you.
You're good, you're good.
All right,
Thank you.
My card here. If we could ever do anything, you know, if we can come up to the fire station on that. Sounds good.
See you, Brian.
so next on our agenda, I would like to introduce our fire chief, Chief Knudsen, who has a presentation for us regarding an MOU for a radio grant.
Thank you. So as you are aware, there's several different types of grants out there for this town to go after. This particular grant is a regional grant that has been put through the FEMA, through the Assistance to Firefighters, AFG. And the town of Sandown is actually going to be the lead on this grant, but they've included Hampstead, Danville, and Plaistow as well. And what they're going after is a grant to replace old and outdated radio systems to be able to update
four towns.
our cache. So you could see what we'd be asking for is 36 portables, 9 mobiles, and then include training, hardware, and equipment to service those pieces of equipment as well. So our share in the whole picture is $101,390. There could possibly only be a 10% grant match. I was not able to get a solid number on that, if it's 10 or 20, so I went with a higher number of 20%, which is $20,278, but that might be reduced to half, so 10,000 and some change. As you can see in our capital reserve fund, we already have 15,809, so if it's a 10% grant match, we already have allocated funds to cover this purchase anyway. If the $15,000 warrant article passes, we'll have more than enough funds to cover this grant to help replace our radios. That's something that we need to do, and you can see it's going to be $101,000. So obviously going after grant money would be the economical solution to one of our problems we have. For the regional grant to move forward, I have to have a memorandum of understanding of all the towns that are associated within the grant. So Mr. Pearson's got that to sign tonight if you all approve that. But all that's saying is that that we're aware that we're participating in the grant, that we have money allocated to satisfy the grant match if we are awarded the grant. Now, we're just in the application phase, so there's no guarantee we're going to be getting this grant. That's all up front. Plus, having that MOU signed and documented within the grant application strengthens the possibility of getting a grant, because the grant reviewers see that we had the money available, and we're not going to turn it down if we get it.
And you got 4 towns being, going in with the agreement, so
That- yes.
more likely they're going to support a much larger.
A lot more likely to have support when grant reviewers are looking at that, because the last thing they want to do is award grants to
Right.
the areas, and then they turn them down.
Right.
Which happens, and that's very frustrating for them. So the more that they can see on the front end that it's going to be approved or there's money allocated, the higher, it's going to get graded.
Chief, do you have a plan B if this does not go through?
So the only plan that we have in our capital reserve is that $15,000. So that's this year's budget, and then see, how that happens at the polls. Hopefully it'll pass. We still need it to pass even if we get this grant to help cover expense. If we don't get the grant, then we'll be looking at Plan B to ask for some more money next year, probably greater than $15,000, because this is one of the things that we're behind the 8 ball, and we can't just be getting a little bit of money each year to replace it. This is something that we really need to be replacing in the next 12 to 18 months.
Got it.
So I'd be looking for you all for some more money next year to be allocated.
Yeah, and just so the folks out there know, this is part of the CIP program, and originally, and Chief and I had actually discussed this sometime last week, that there was a call to only put $15,000 in this radio fund, and by the time we accrued enough money to actually replace all of the radios, they would need to be replaced yet again. So, this is probably not the most efficacious way to pay for these. So if this grant does not go through, we really do need to start thinking about putting some decent money into the budget to replace these radios, and not do it at $15,000 a year, because it's not practical to do it with that small of an amount of money. Do you know, Chief, when this grant will be awarded? Do you have any idea?
I don't know when
timeframe?
it'll be awarded. I think the
All right.
closing date on it's the middle of this month. So once it closes, then it'll get sent, and then it'll start going through a review process. We should know by the end of this year. So by next budget year, we would know if we got the.
Hopefully well before then, but, okay.
Correct.
All right, do you have any questions, Jim?
Yes, we have 3 other towns involved in this. Are they voting on this as well?
They have already approved it.
They've already approved it?
They've already
theirs?
approved it,
So This
yes.
has been going on for some time, this plan?
The MOU actually just went out last week, I believe, is when I forwarded it to the town managers, is when I got it. So that was the first I'd heard that they needed
Right.
it. So as soon as I got it, I pushed it forward, because I knew there was a deadline coming up.
All right, so could we have a motion to direct the town manager to sign off on the MOU?
I'll make a motion to direct the town manager to sign off on this MOU.
Second the motion.
All right, no further discussion or questions? Now, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you got yourself an MOU, Chief. Good luck.
Yep.
Thank you for coming in.
Hopefully I'll have you some money.
Yes, and hopefully you'll be back so we can sign off on the grant, too, yes. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All righty. So next item agenda is just a very brief discussion on remote off-site participation at Board of Selectmen meetings. We're kind of being proactive on this to make sure that any future and new board members who might be working and traveling and not able to physically participate here can do so remotely. And I guess you have in your packages a little bit of the rules and regulations on remote participation, which seem to be fairly straightforward. And I guess my only question to Mark might be, does our current phone system have the capabilities of allowing remote participation via telephone, or do we need to make some other arrangements, or how is that going to work?
Just speakerphone. When you press speakerphone.
Well, do we have a phone here that can do that, or,
Right
I mean,
there.
is this going to be able, is this capable of doing it? All right, then that's all I guess I wanted to know.
Yeah, because by the
Alright.
law, I think is not only do we have to be able to hear the conversation
to hear
two-way,
us,
the
yep.
public has to hear it.
Yep,
So it has to be set up such that it shows up on the video as well.
Okay, all right.
And the other big difference is that all votes need to be
Roll call.
called out,
right,
roll call.
Right, so it's a pretty straightforward thing, but I think we may be utilizing this a little bit more often than we ever had been in the first place. So as long as we're all set with that, I think we're good.
I'm set with it. I've been asking about this kind of for the last couple of years.
I know. See, you're a visionary, Julian. We have to just catch up to you,
'Cause
but
we've had
eventually we'll
members
get it
that went
done.
on to Aruba or
I
somewhere, and
know.
they couldn't participate in an important meeting, and they wanted to, but they had no way to do
Well,
it.
They were
I'm
where?
going to tell you.
Aruba?
I'm going to
Well,
tell you.
people got to take vacation,
If I'm on vacation, I do not want to participate in these meetings. So I'm going to just preface
especially in
it.
the past when we used to meet every week.
Yes, I know, it's a lot better now. All right, so that's all taken care of. The next thing on the agenda, we're going to have a very quick meeting tonight. As you know, next Tuesday is voting. Go ahead, did you want to?
One question, this is
Yeah.
all great that we agree to do this, but it has to be, the system has to be set up to do so. So on the other end, not here, but on the other end, are they using a standard phone, are they using a computer, are they using Skype? We have to set that
Well,
up.
yeah, and we'll check
Right.
with that specifics when we swear in our new selectmen. Okay. So voting is next Tuesday, and I know we had set up a schedule for you all. I think you were going to come in, you can come in at 7. I don't think quarter of was probably too early for you. And Julian, you're going to come in at 3. I was going to stay
Yeah.
the day, come in at 10, and hopefully John's going to be comfortable to come in at 11. So if you gentlemen are comfortable with that schedule, I think that would be good, and plan on coming back at the end of the night as we
8
did.
8 o'clock.
And spending a couple of hours to go through the ballots, and there's several more ballots this year, or at this voting period, so we will be there a little bit later perhaps than we were the last
It's 8
time.
o'clock
Yeah,
And-
right.
and-
when they're counting.
Yep, polls close at 8, but we have the school, and we have the warrants, and we have all this, and zoning to count, so,
A lot more complicated than the last
yeah,
election.
yeah, so bring your pajamas.
And also, for people who are Plaistow voters, and
Yes.
we usually do have other members in the community that come help at the end of the night to help with and they
Yes,
get sworn in.
yes,
And if
yes.
something you're going to be doing in the future, it might be a great time to get the first exposure.
But if you're running for office, you're not
Yeah.
allowed to participate in the count.
Yes.
Correct.
So that leaves all of our extra people that were always helping us to do that.
I
So
think the only-
we'll
I
ask.
think the only thing, you can't handle the ballot, so you can't.
All right,
count.
I'll check with Martha about that.
Yeah, you
All
just
right.
can't handle the ballots.
Okay,
Because we have moderators and whatever that always are in elections, and they do participate in the process.
all
They
right.
just can't physically touch the ballots.
All right. I'm going to postpone the approval of non-public session minutes to the end. All right, because there's only a couple of them that we need to do. So if you are ready for your town report, sir?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So in your folder tonight is the actual award of the grant, $135,000 for the Pollard Road culvert. So that's already been approved, so the only thing we're waiting for is an affirmative vote next Tuesday at the polls for the final funding for the Pollard Road. So if that passes, this is a big check mark in that box for completing this project. You know, we'll get it rolling this year. The other thing that's in your package is about the trust fund meeting next Monday, March 9th, at the Legislative Office Building at 9 a.m. about the Southern New Hampshire Water Line Project to bring potable water to Plaistow. So we were hoping to have as many board members as, you know, can make it to Concord, and also anybody else in town that would like to participate in the process, you know, and at least be in the room encouraging the approval of this large project for the town of Plaistow. And D has reported over 375 streetlights have been replaced out of the 454. I scheduled a meeting with Recreation Commission Chairman Bill Coy for next week, for this week, to look at the engineering plans. We have a preliminary plan that's to bring the trail through some of the rights-of-way to get to the major part of the land up at Park. So we're working very aggressively with Charlie Zilch and SEC Engineering to get the final plan, and then they'll go out and actually mark the land, and then we'll look at what it's gonna take, you know, to get the trail established to get to the trails. There is no way to get from Park to the trails. That's what this is about, is the trail to get to the trails, or the access road to get to the trails. We're continuing to work with our vendor, Normando, for the drainage and other easements for the Pollard Road project. We are waiting for the vote next week before we actually put any more effort or money into this, because it doesn't make sense to get the drainage and the other easements if the project is not fully funded. But we're ready to go. And then if everything lines up well and we have a pre-RFP meeting and other related paperwork, and then we can get this out to bid, we would like to see the construction schedule to begin by July 1st and finish by September 1st, which would be similar to the Westville Road
Westville
Bridge.
Bridge, yeah.
And that we would be open for the buses, and then to have a final punch list by the 30th of September. I met with Trinity Emergency Ambulance Service last Tuesday, Fire Chief Captain Vicenza. I met with Josh Peters, the Service Operations Manager, and the Vice President, Christopher Dick. And we asked for assistance on the replacement of the heart defibrillator located on the engine. It's no longer serviceable, and it's a critical piece of equipment. So they have one on the rescue and one on the truck, and there's alternating reasons why the truck goes out instead of the rescue. So Trinity, within an hour, loaned us a piece of equipment, and we have 2 good pieces of equipment now instead of just one and one maybe. And then we're going to continue to work with Trinity to come with a final solution. So I'll come back to you once we have a solution. House numbering, I spoke with Fire Chief Knutson and Captain Facina, and they had a previous program that they did several years ago, and they're going to resurrect it again. And they're going to provide public service messages, flyers, door hangers, website, and community TV scroll to work on this project. Fire Chief Knutson asked for permission to explore a private-public partnership with some of the large retail stores in town to seek funding for a free fire alarm program. I said yes, but explained that anything donated by the merchant should come before the board for a donation consistent with the donation policy. You heard the Assistance for Firefighter grant tonight, and we appreciate your support. I met with JRM Trash Hauling. They're our current trash solid waste contractor and recyclables. They were explaining to me that the recycling has changed, not only nationwide but worldwide, and it's been inefficient and costly for them. Of course, we have contract right now that they're honoring, and those additional costs are not getting passed on to us. But they were basically giving me a warning that the next trash contract and recycling contract is going to be a little more costly because of this. And their contract expires on June 30th, 2021. But we're going to have to do some advertising for an RFP this year, because we need to have those numbers for the last half of 2021. So we're going to have that number with a proposed RFP and award that the board will make. You'll pick whoever you want that submits a bid. We're going to need that to be done this fall so that we can put that number into the 2021 budget. And I would just ask the board, how do you want to handle that? Do you want to put together a proposal in conjunction with the track committee? Because I wouldn't want to leave the track committee out if they've been involved, but that's a board decision. It's up to you what you want to do, and you don't have to answer me tonight. You can wait till you have all your all your members here, and we have time. But you don't want to lose sight of this one. You want to get it get this rolling for the fall.
Well, I believe, just to interrupt you, sorry, but we did have a track meeting last week, and that was one of the things that the track committee did discuss, and they are very much aware that we need to get this out before fall. So we will, and I think our next meeting's not until June, but we did discuss a myriad of different types of recycling and maybe not doing recycling at all. So we have a bunch of vendors coming in June to talk to us a little bit. So with your permission, and I'll wait until the full board is here, we can start moving on an RFP so that at least you guys have some idea on what we're looking at and what we're going to recommend to you. So I'll have the chair of the track committee come in and talk to us about that.
Okay.
It's a big decision. We need
It's
to have, we need
huge.
to know what our options
It
are.
is, yes, it is, it is. Sorry.
So I met with the newest selectman, provided he gets at least a couple votes on,
I think he has
Tuesday.
3 so far.
so he may be the victor. Greg Colby and I met with him. He asked to come in to meet with us to learn as much as he could from us. So we showed him the different things that we do for research, and we gave him some material, and we'll continue to give him material. And then I believe when you got on the board, Madam Chairman, it was actually a process set up to show a new selectman around with the different things.
Yes, and as soon as our voting is formally over next week, I will touch base with Jay and get him all set up with everything, as well as Beth and
And I
sure
will
he's all
tell you
set.
that he asked to, and I mentioned last week that I was going to provide him with this book, and Underwood's putting together
Yes,
a book for
good,
him.
good.
And he did, I assume that he took it home and read it, because he did ask me some questions over the weekend, and we
Okay.
communicated back and forth, so I'll give him the test later on to see how he did.
Excellent.
He doesn't need sleep, he doesn't need sleeping pills now.
He asked some really good questions. So we hired an administrative assistant that started last Monday at the fire department, and I actually had time today to go over and meet with her. So she's been busy. Just on a side note, Fire Chief told me that she's already scanned in over 3,500 documents over there. Some documents that he wanted in the system to do with their run sheets so that they can pull data up a little quicker. Today I was over and she was doing payroll, so, you know, she's busy and it seems to be working out. So we like success stories. We have a potential candidate for the full-time public safety dispatcher, and we're doing a background right now, and then we'll go to a conditional offer. Full-time police officers. You know, I gave you a recap on the next page. I will really talk about it there, but there's the evolution of people leaving for other jobs and the current openings that we're unable to fill. And we've had 2 people go out of work, one for FLMA and one for an injury. So,
FLMA is?
Family
Family
Leave
medical
Medical
leave.
Act.
Okay.
yeah.
So we are down, well, I'm going to ask you to flip to the next page for the recap, because sometimes you need to see it. We're vacant 4 full-time officers, because starting April 1st, we'll be down 4. 3 full-time vacancies, 2 detective vacancies. The only detective we had went out on medical leave, so we don't have any detectives. We have people filling in for that. We only have 2 supervisors out of what we once had, which was 4. So in total, we're down 4 supervisors. There is nobody between the 2 sergeants and the chief. We have 2 new officers going to the academy in May, and they're expected to return in August, and then they'll finish up, and they've been doing the field training during this time, so we think there's a short turnaround time. So in recap, there's no detectives, there's no evidence officer, there's no midnight supervisor, there's no command staff other than the chief. The chief and I are working on a plan, and we have now resorted to even looking for part-time. Whatever we can do to try to help him and Sarah, because they're carrying the load. We don't even have anybody in the building to help them with administration. And we're not making our problem your problem. We're going to come up with a solution, but I'm just telling you that don't be surprised if you hear that we end up hiring somebody on a part-time capacity, because we need people. And anytime we can even get anybody on to try to help us. And we're out there recruiting. You know, it's fragile right now. People are being called in on an overtime basis on a forced call-in. And they're putting a schedule out ahead of time, and they're spreading out the forced call-in amongst the group of people. So it's been coming, and we're trying to get bodies, and we put a notice out for a promotional exam for sergeants. We need supervisors on every shift. We've only got 2 for the whole department. So we're working on a plan, and I will come back to you and tell you what our plan looks like, but just wanted to give you a heads up.
So there's been discussion that our pay scales here in Plaistow are significantly lower than surrounding towns. Is that something that you and Chief Mullen will be discussing as well to bring to the board? Because we really cannot, I mean, paying people time and a half and overtime is worth looking at increasing pay scales, and I'm not sure how that would fit in with the CBA, but is that something you guys will be looking at as well?
Yes, we are looking
Yeah.
at that, and we're gonna come to you with a solution.
All right.
Yeah, but my understanding is this is not just a Plaistow issue.
Oh, no.
So it's, you know, you can go across the border and the rules change and the pay scales change.
So here's
Yeah.
here's the big picture, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
The big picture is this is from here to, this is across the country. But in the local area, people leaving here to go to Boston, to go to Lynn, to go to Manchester, to go to Salem, to go wherever. Salem's losing people to the federal government, to Manchester, to Nashua. You know, everybody's moving around, and the candidates, there's so few candidates that when you get a good candidate and you start interviewing them, you find out that they're in 2 or 3 processes, and the one that offers the most for money gets the candidate.
Yeah.
And even if we train somebody and get them on the road and do all that training with the academy and field training, and they're on the road, and they see an opportunity in another department that pays more, they end up leaving here. So, there has to be some attraction to keep people here. So we are looking at what we can do to keep our people here.
So since this is a trend and it doesn't affect just our community, is there a system or something set up in this, or could it be where there's like a qualified officer pool that can be taken as each community has shortages, like you can't cover the shifts? Is there anything like that?
No. There's not even something like that for the fire department.
You think it would be useful to have something like that? Because
It's-
it is an area issue now, so
Yeah.
you have to have a solution.
It may come to that, but no one has done that yet. That's like a regional concept. Yeah, I mean, I think that if there was that resource here where there was a pool of people like that, but right now, if there was a pool of people like that, every department around would be using them, and we probably wouldn't even be able to get them then. I mean, there's just no resources.
Yeah.
So
Because I know there's a lot of officers that maybe have retired or whatever, they don't want a full-time job because they're retired.
that's why we're
Yeah.
looking at part-time to
Yeah.
try to fill some of the voids. The people, what's gonna happen is the people being forced in on overtime, obviously, they're not volunteering for it because they're already busy enough with regular overtime or whatever else. So there's gonna be a burnout factor that will happen, that they're not gonna want to continue to do that. So, by having at least part-timers come in, or somebody coming in, or, it's gonna help alleviate a little bit. But we need 4 or 5 bodies to really fix this problem. And we can't find 4 or 5 bodies.
Yeah, so I was kind of suggest if the chief could meet with the area people, and maybe together they could put something together like that, and maybe it will help, for the time being, alleviate some of that issue.
There's no,
Yeah.
there's no pool of candidates to create a pool of candidates.
Well,
Yeah, so,
So anyways, I know I jumped around to the last page because I got to that one, but human services, so we don't have any applicants, but luckily the request for services has decreased, so that hasn't been really tough for us right now. Recreation director vacancy, there is interviews tomorrow. We had a longtime electrical inspector has been out of work for a good part of last year and all of this year. So we have our backup working now, and our backup electrical inspector is gonna go on vacation, so I have to have a backup to a backup. So I'm swearing in somebody tomorrow for that. As you know, we have our code enforcement and building official out, so I've already got a backup there. So I'm making sure that the inspections are being covered with whoever we have to have filling in those positions to make sure when people pull a permit, they get an inspection. We don't want to hold up construction either, so we're okay. We're just going to have backups to backups. The records management scanning person started last week with a soft start and today, and today she made fantastic progress already right out of the gate. So we're going to keep on moving forward with that, and it's going to be that document management and scanning documents and so forth. So this is going to work out. The highway laborer. So we had an 18-year employee would suddenly and unexpectedly submit basically a resignation, but wanted to use his vacation time. I reached out to him. I was going to give him some, some time to reconsider and so forth. Luckily, we received a notice he'll be returning tomorrow. So that's one less vacancy that I have to fill. So it was almost a maybe, and he's back. So that's good. And we're advertising for the seasonal worker position that works in both the general maintenance and the highway garage. So that's a person during the summer that when people go on vacation, we still have staff to cut lawns and to do the things that we need. And he worked out really well last year. So it's a seasonal position. So we actually put an we put a process out, and then everybody applies, and then we pick, because there's a start date and there's an end date. And so we're doing that right now. And I think that wraps up my report.
All right. Thank you. I think we can postpone the action item review for now, because we kind of went over it, and we've got all the other extra things that we had talked about in there already. As far as other business, I just wanted to remind everybody that candidates' night is tomorrow night. So everyone is encouraged to go down at 7 o'clock, I believe, to the Plaistow Public Library. And please participate and ask all of the candidates questions that you may have. And I don't believe there's only one contested position, but it still doesn't hurt to go in and get a chance to meet the candidates who are going to be, working in our town hall over the next year. The other thing, one more thing, and then I'll let you go. Mark had mentioned the Concord meeting next Monday. And so I think as selectmen, we should definitely show our support for all the tremendous work that Mark has done. And so I put together a carpool for the four of us. I think we're all able to go. And so if we can meet here on Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning, I will borrow my husband's behemoth car, so nobody has to fold themselves into my sports car or the trunk. So I will send an email out this weekend to remind you guys, if we can meet at 8 o'clock here, we should all go up together and support Mark on that. Okay, go ahead, Julian.
All right, on to other business. We were talking about elections, and what happens during the March elections, or currently our March elections, is I have found in the past that sometimes even more than half the ballots, we have to sort through, count every single one of them, put them in, box them. Were school board ballots. And we have never, that I've seen, the school board come help with the elections.
Good idea.
I mean, the select board always shows up every election. They do their part because we put out the warrant articles and whatever. It's our part of our responsibility. But yet, we're doing the school board ballots, and sometimes it's more of them than there are the town ballots. And it would be nice to get a little help from the school boards. Maybe they can the local, like each, I'm not talking about the other towns, they can do what they want.
Right.
But maybe our Plaistow school board members can come help at the end of the night.
That's an excellent idea, and seeing as your wife is running for a school board position, is it possible for her to reach out to some of the members there and ask if they could help?
Well, I don't know about that. She usually volunteers anyway.
She may not be able to do that, but we'll have to check on that. But
True,
if she
that's
could
true.
reach out and do that, that's an awesome idea. I think that would be really helpful.
This is a yearly issue where we have, the March election is the busiest one to have to sort through all the ballots
It
because of
is.
all the warrant articles.
It is.
And it's a lot of sheets. And people don't realize we have to count every one of those.
And enter all the write-in candidates, and I think last year, I think we had 56 write-ins just on one position. So different write-ins, not the same one, so that was tough.
So I don't know how to reach out to the school board to see if they would like to start maybe a trend of helping out on the March elections.
Could we beg the indulgence of Barbara to shoot an email out to her fellow
I don't know if that's really her place.
Well,
but-
no, but she's the closest one to reach out since she's already involved with some of the school board members, and maybe, you know, if she could do something like that, but that's a great
Well,
idea, and I think we should
it's
definitely do
upon
it
our-
for next year.
I think it's upon our board to do that.
You think so?
I think so,
Would you
too.
be willing to do it?
We run
or-
our town elections, in a sense, besides the town clerk. And it's up to us to make that request.
Well, would you be willing to do that then, since you brought it up,
I'll
or?
make the request, I
All
can do
right,
that.
that'd be great.
But
All
it's
right.
still, it
Yeah,
can't be
we
an
can reach
individual
out-
effort, we have to
can
do
reach
it as
out
a board.
well. We can reach out as well, but you can do the initial, you know, front running thing and then
So it's an
talk to
agreement with the
us.
rest of the
I
board
think
to
so,
reach
yeah,
out?
that's a good
Okay.
idea. It's a very good idea. All right, did you have any more business to talk to
That's it.
about? No, okay. So very quick reports, selectmen reports.
All set.
How about you?
All
Big guy?
set, it's only been
You're all
1 week,
set?
I've been in Colorado, so.
Yeah, all right, so I just did a couple of things. I went on TV to do what I call the fireside chat, to just let more and more people know about our warrant articles and a little bit of an explanation about them. And I think Tim Moore did the same thing with the zoning ordinances, which is really important, because half the time, you know, we don't understand what what the ordinances mean and what they're trying to do. So having him go on TV is another opportunity for people that can't get out to just kind of understand what's going on there.
Since John isn't here,
Yeah.
and I usually let him do the Old Home Day report.
Okay, do you want, all right, let me finish mine,
Right.
then you can jump back in, okay? So I met with Chief Knutson regarding the pilot program, and he gave me some more information, so we're still researching that. And I'm still trying to feel my way around the DTC, the public right-of-way for utilities thing. We still need some more information before we go, and I bring stuff back to you guys for a decision. And last thing we did was Greg and I calibrated the voting machines again this Friday. So the next time it's going to be done is in September, and our new selectman, as well as John's going to take the turn, since we've already done it a couple of times. So we'll see how that goes. So if there's no other business, can we approve the non-public minutes? And I don't believe we need to go into non-public for that. We can just approve them as only one or two.
So we had an Old Home Day meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Julian,
There were
yes.
a lot of new things they're trying to bring in to this
Yeah.
event, try to make it more family-oriented, make
Yeah.
it last longer.
Yeah.
Events maybe on the town green, of true, real discussion and details about maybe having a beer tent here in the town hall, how to do it legally, and it's moving very forward, because other communities do it, so there is a way to do it. And that's been a concern in the past. Selectmen kind of threw it down and, in a sense, said no. But it really was because there was nothing worked out for details. And I think this time it may
Good.
pan out very well. And hopefully this Old Home Day is going to be a little bit different than the past. We're trying to make it grow. And we're also opening it up, says you don't have to be an official band or something to be in the parade. If anybody has something, they can make a float. Anybody in the town wants to drive their car in the parade, they might have an old antique car or something, get in the parade. There's no restrictions on getting into the parade, and it's something more for the people who watch the parade. It's a community thing.
Yep.
And we're also going to have more events, you know, we're putting together some historical perspectives of past Old Home Days, because the theme is decades, which means everything.
Okay. All right.
And so it may turn out to be a little bit of a different Old Home Day, maybe something better, more traditional. We even maybe bringing back to where the old officer used to go around town and arrest people for violations and put them in the stockade or the jail. We're trying to see how the police department will work with us on that, possibly.
And of course,
We
they
have
have
someone to
they
meet
have
with
to
them.
bail themselves out, and that money gets donated to Old Home Day, right?
Well, that hasn't
That
worked
could
out.
be a possibility, too.
But those are the possibilities. We're trying to bring
Yeah.
back the things that used to be in the senior members that live in Plaistow has been telling us about, and I've heard it. This is the way Old Home Day used to be, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And it's not a
Sounds like
matter of
fun.
parade, it's not a matter of vendors, it's about the community getting together and enjoying it. So we're trying to bring back that spirit.
That sounds great. That sounds great. And to that end also, there was a submission to me with regards to their charter, which they had asked to have us review because there were some changes in it. And I did want to just bring it up tonight, but I think that it would be more appropriate for us to, I'm going to send it to you guys
Okay.
for our next meeting. When we have a full board in here, we should be able to vote on approving that charter.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of good changes in it as
Good.
well.
The only big change was the definition of quorum.
Okay, all set?
You ready for the
All right,
minutes?
So now we'll go into our approval of non-public minutes.
So I make a motion that we approve the February 24th, 2020, Session 1, and that since the minutes are not sealed on that one, that we approve those.
Okay, and this is just an approval of an approval. All right, so may I have a second on
second
that?
it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries 300.
Make a motion that we approve the February 24th, 2020, Session 2 of non-public minutes, and that the minutes remain sealed.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 300.
I make a motion that we approve the February 24th, 2020, Session 3 of non-public minutes, and these are, the minutes were not sealed.
All right, second on that?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion carries 300 as well. So if we have no other business this evening, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:29. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Wow, I think that's a
Yeah, time's flying. March 9th's coming up already.